Okay, so today we have Thomas Dolby, and She Blinded Me with Science. So I've been listening and reacted to some synth pop, new wave, all that kind of, fun stuff. And somebody said, you haven't listened to synth pop until you've heard this song. So I said, well, my God, let me accept the challenge, I guess, and let's get to this song. So here we are now. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about it after. I guess listen to the song first. So let's go. 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Let's go. Thomas Dolby. Goodness. I love his expressions.
She blinded me with science. Found it in geometry. When she's dancing next to me. Science. Good heavens, Miss Sakamoto, you're beautiful. Hey, I don't believe it. There she goes again. She's tied it up. I can't find anything. All my tubes and wires, careful notes, antiquated notions, poetry in motion. When she turned her eyes to you, as deep as any ocean, as sweet as any harmony. She blinded me with science. She blinded me with science. She blinded me
Hell yeah. Well, that was a story right there with a video. Okay, Thomas Dolby, She Blinded Me with Science. Holy moly. Okay, so yeah, like I said, the commenter who said, you haven't listened to synth pop until you've heard this, I gotta say, I agree. This is just so quirky. This is so humorous. This is just hilarious. You can see me laughing. I just love the expression. Again, I will say, coming into this, because I never like to go into a video cold, I did read a little bit about the song and what Thomas Dolby, some of his quotes, and he talked about how he kind of wrote the song because he wanted to make a video. And again, this was 1982, I do believe, and music videos were kind of a new thing. And again, he had this in his mind that he had the right words for it. And so I just love how it's almost, in a way, it reminds me of like early YouTube or something. Because again, this is early music video stuff, and it's so quirky in a way. And you have the synthesizers on it too. And I did read too that he talked about how that was a challenge because of course synthesizers, even though in '82, you had Gary Newman and Ultravox and all this stuff had come out, but still it wasn't, I guess, in the mainstream or anything like that. So to have this song come out, which I guess you might call a novelty song, and people have described this song and Thomas as a one-hit wonder, whatever you want to say. But either way, this is the only thing I've heard him on. But either way, so it was a challenge, and he said he liked that, and he accepted that. And obviously, he had the synth bass here was great. There's so many different synths. If you look at the personnel that I guess I'll mention just for a second here, he was on lead and backing vocals on the Roland Jupiter 4, Moog Source, PPG Wave, Simmons Programming, Inventide Harmonizer. Again, I don't really know what all these things are. I just think they're all synthesizers in some way, I do believe. But anyway, and but yeah, just looking at the description of them all, yeah, basically it's all the kind of the same thing. But still, and he talked about how they're kind of hard to, I don't know if I'd say hard to work, but it was just kind of hard to make everything sound cohesive, I guess, in a way. And I just like that a lot. And again, Gary Newman is probably my favorite synth pop guy, or whatever you want to say, new wave guy I've come across through the channel. And I did get a sense of him in Thomas's vocals a little bit, just because of his abrupt delivery and how his words kind of just escaped his mouth, I guess you would say, and his expressions too. I guess not talking about Gary Newman anymore, but just with Thomas's expressions here, because in the video too, and I read so much about Thomas, I guess, so I got to say this too, but he talked about how he wanted the video to come across like a Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin kind of thing. You had the cards, whatever you want to say, with the writing on it that you would read, because there's not really a lot of dialogue or anything. You have the guy repeating signs in the video, but there's not like people talking to each other, whatever. And he kind of just said it was kind of a, I don't know if you'd say a skit, but either way, something like that. And you had obviously the music behind it. So I just love how he went about this. It's so different. It's so original, I would say. And yeah, so I just like that a lot. And I just love how at points too, when he would say like words like machinery, and he had a lot of growl in his voice, and he had a lot of, I guess it was kind of a guttural feeling. It reminded me, I gotta say, of Andy Partridge from XTC. And that wasn't the only part either. Just some parts where he would reach down, sing from his stomach or something. It reminded me of Andy, and I was almost like, because this is the only time I've ever heard Thomas, so I almost want to hear other songs he's done, or maybe listen to him cover an XTC song, because it sounds like he would do well. Again, just some Andy came to mind. And honestly too, just to say that, because again, whenever I hear an artist for the first time, I guess I get comparisons in my head. A little bit of John Lydon. I don't know why that came to mind, but it did. I don't know, and not in the Sex Pistols days, or maybe it was, but some kind of Pill vibes too. So anyway, that all came to my big fat head. But either way, obviously heavy synths, groovy as hell, holy moly, hooky as hell too, and I just love from the get go. It's just it's bouncy. I don't know. Again, it's so quirky. I don't know what other word to say. It's so different. It's not like a guitar driven song. That's why I love synth pop. It's just so different, and it's just so out there, especially for this time. And it's music that's not for everyone. And again, Thomas kind of said as much. He knew this wouldn't reach everybody, but the people it did reach, they loved it. And I guess, people, as I read too, would start yelling science in science class because of the guy who was yelling science. And I say guy, but his name is Magnus Pike, Dr. Pike. So I talked about Thomas and everything he's on, all the synths, but also Matthew Seligman, I want to say here, is on Moog Source, which was the bass of the track, it says. And again, big bass, as a fan of the Cars, I know that... I know I can't remember his name. Greg Hawkes, my God, he played the synth bass for the Cars a lot of the time. So I always love a synth bass. But anyway, going on, Tim Freeze Green is also on PPG Wave and Eventide Harmonizer. Kevin Armstrong, I've seen that name. Hold the phone. I just got to look at Kevin Armstrong. He's worked with Morrissey, Iggy Pop, and David Bowie. I know I recognize his name anyway, but he was on electric guitar here. So there was a guitar on the track, of course. Simon House, great name, was on violin. And I liked in the video how Thomas at one point was playing, pretending to play the violin on the woman's back. And was, again, just so weird and, weird science anyway. And I just love it. Anyway, Magnus Pike, like I said, was on spoken word. And also, I do want to mention too, because Thomas talked about how it was hard to get Magnus or Dr. Pike, I guess, to, if I'm going to be, nice to him, Dr. Pike to say the line he wanted right. Because apparently when he would say blinded by science, he would finish it off with a question mark and, say it, yell it as a question. And Thomas had to say, no, it's not a question. You got to say it with an exclamation mark at the end. Anyway, so there's that. And I guess he also said that for the rest of his life, whenever he would walk, whenever Magnus would walk down the road, someone would come up to him and yell science, and it annoyed him until the day he was died. So again, it's just so it's just. I mean, it's sad in a way, but it's kind of funny too. Anyway, so rest in peace to Dr. Pike, of course. Mutt Lange is on backing vocals, which is nuts to see Mutt Lange. Some good names in here again. Kevin Armstrong, Mutt Lange. I mean, my God, who of course Mutt Lange produced so many different bands. I talked with the Cars. He produced the Cars. He produced the Boomtown Rats and many other people, of course. But anyway. And then we have Miriam Stockley on backing vocals. And I would imagine she had like a wiggly voice in there. That's the word that comes to my head when I heard her voice. I was like, it's so deformed in a way. I don't know if that's a word to say, but wiggly, I guess, works. And it's bouncy too. So I liked her voice on the track too. I did notice her voice, so that's fun. But I get everybody here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, I do believe. And they all shined, I think. I mean, again, everyone had their part, and everyone, it sounded like a cohesive unit. Everything worked very well. The violin in there was great, along with the synths, and I just liked that a lot. So anyway, like I said, groovy, hooky, catchy as all get out, and I love his vocals. His vocals are so different. Even though I did mention that he did sound like a couple people I know. I've heard, I don't know them, but at the same time, very original though. And I just love his pop. I love the expression to him. I love how wild everything seemed to him. He can't believe what's going on. And I guess when you talk about the song, before we get into the lyrics, talking about him falling in love with his lab assistant, I guess you would say, and the way he's talking to Dr. Pike, like, saying, I just love, again, in the video, when he's just saying all these things that he can't believe it's happening. And it's just, I don't know, I just love how expressionate, is that the word? Anyway, how, wild he seems to be. He is a mad scientist, I guess. Anyway, so let's get into these lyrics. And we start with the chorus, because why not? So, it's poetry in motion. She turned to her tender eyes to me, as deep as any ocean, as sweet as any harmony. Again, detailed, beautiful lyrics here. Obviously, you can see where he's coming from when he's talking about this woman. But she blinded me with science. She blinded me with science. Failed me in biology. So, I guess she failed him in biology. So, I mean, my goodness, he's all hers, even if she fails him. I mean, my God. And there is a annotation here on Genius.com. I don't always read these, but I just want to mention, because blinded me with science is an expression. And just to say, it does mean to deliberately confuse someone by giving the impression of highly complex knowledge. So it makes me question, is this woman as smart as she may seem, or she just puts on this act in front of him, and again, he's blinded with science by her anyway. She can tell him where to go. She'll say jump and he'll say how high. My goodness gracious. But anyway, then we go on with the interlude and just the now and the so that's all there is in the interlude. But we have the first verse here. When I'm dancing close to her, blinding me with science, and of course the science is being yelled out by Dr. Pike. I can smell the chemicals. Now, a line like that really does remind me of Gary Newman, just because Gary Newman talks about machines and chemicals and all that stuff. So it's in the same vein there, which I love. Blind me with science, and again, as someone who grew up on Bill Nye the Science Guy and would watch it in school, in class, every time the guy would yell science, I would expect rules to follow, because of course in the theme song for Bill Nye the Science Guy, science, rules, and that's just what came to my head. So I did get a nostalgic feeling there anyway. Then we have the chorus come back in, same thing as I said, the beautiful detail, talking about the woman who, has just taken him over. My goodness gracious. Then we have the second verse here, which he's dancing next to me, blinding me with science. And he knows he's being blinded, I guess, but he can't stop it. I can hear machinery. So there it is again, machinery we talked about earlier. Blinding me with science. And then we have the chorus once again. Again, I love the repetition of the chorus, because it is a fun, catchy chorus. So it's not like it gets old or anything like that. Nothing about this gets old for me anyway. It is my first listen, but again, it's so original. I've never heard it. Then we have the interlude here. Good heavens. Everything Dr. Pike says is just memorable, and I love it. Anyway, good heavens, Miss Sakamoto, you're beautiful. And again, talking about, I guess, the lab assistant, this woman that has the power over Thomas's character, I guess you would say. Then we have the bridge. Oh, I don't believe it. There she goes again. Now, this part here, I was thinking, what's this mean? Anyway, I don't believe it. There she goes again. She's tidied up, and I can't find anything. I was like, did she steal from him? She's taken power over him, and now she's taking his things. Anyway, all my tubes and wires are in careful notes and antiquated notions. Antiquated. So we talk about antiquated. which is, I guess, kind of means outdated. So it's outdated notions. I guess, he's got to catch up with her anyway. I don't, despite, does she take anything from her or whatever? She's cleaned up anyway. And he has these antiquated notions, which again, she seems far ahead of him. And he seems to kind of know that he's got to catch up with her, but she has the power over him either way, and that's not going to change anyway. But it's poetry in motion. When she turned her eyes to me, yeah, the chorus finishes it off. She's blinded me with science. She blinded me with, and then at the end there. But at the end of the video, it did say in the card or whatever, the final slide about the scientist, or I can't remember how they described Thomas in the song, but how he rejected science and and everything about science, and then he left, and then the doctor got his comeuppance. So either way, I like how it ended off there. I like the story within the video. Again, I like the way that he just went about this. Thomas went about this with so much originality. And from what I basically read, the best summarized, what was going on, I guess he was kind of I don't know if say a session. I did see someone call him like a session synth guy or whatever the frig, but he wasn't a main guy. And when he thought, why the hell not try to be a main guy, this is what he came up with. And again, it's so different, it's so original, and it's just so I guess Thomas Dolby. I mean, I guess that's the whole point. I just love how he went about this, and this was his first crack at, I guess, becoming bigger. And I mean, obviously, it's endured for this long, not endeared, I don't think, but it's gone on this long, and people remember this song. So anyway, I guess that's all I gotta say. My goodness gracious. Hopefully that's clear as mud. Again, this was my first listen to Thomas Dolby, and did not disappoint. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing, commenting.